In Spiritforged, green is getting an incredible buff in my opinion. 70% of the cards are 3 stars or better. Let's go in. As always, the cards are ranked from trash to meta defining with 1 to 6 stars. More in the description. We're starting with all the units. First one is Disarming Rake. 3 mana, 1 power, 2 might. When you play me, you may kill a gear. And I think that's a good sideboard card. Typically, I would put them on 2 stars, but I'm putting this at 3rd star because he is developing the board at the same time, which might be impactful in many more situations than just having a hate card against a gear. Also important, this can target any player. This might come up in some scenarios. Next one is Guardian of the Passage. 6 drop with 6 might. When I hold, you may return a unit or a gear from your trash to your hand. So essentially, it's like worse than drawing a card, but it can recycle the same unit so you get more copies, or like recycle the same gears so you get more copies essentially, but you need to hold a location. I feel like this is very hard to do in general, even when your deck is about holding locations. So I deem this trash, 1 star, because there will be better options in such an expensive slot anyway. Now, another one. Now, this one is good. 2 drop, 2 might. Lonely Poro. It has Death Knell. If I died alone, draw 1. So essentially, if there are no other friendly units in that location or in base and it dies, you get to draw a card. On the baseline, this is a playable unit for 2 might with 2 power. And we will compare it to the Sentry in the blue color, which is 2 mana, 1 might, and you have the same effect, but it always draws you a card. Now, I think Lonely Poro is just good because in most of its cases is going to be exactly the same as Sentry, but it trades better. So I think this is a really playable card, right? And when you play green color, if it's not Azir, I feel like you're not going to have that many opportunities when you're not going to be alone. So in my opinion, it's just a 4 star. Like, yeah, it's a great one. It's a great 2 drop to start the game, and when you join 2 drops later on in the game, you're not really happy with any of those anyway. Like with green, you also have the 2 drop that can draw your card when you play it, but you have to use the power, right, for that. And this one is just essentially an additional copy of that card with just a slightly different requirement. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Next one is Navori Scout, a 4 drop with 4 might and a built-in deflect. It's just okay. It has 4 cost, 4 might, which is already good, has a bonus in the effect. It's a good budget option for many decks if there will be problems with like getting cards, or even for Pauper like format in the future. And some metagames might actually favor this card to even be a legit choice in the main decks, depending on what exactly it looks like. If 90% of the of the field is gonna be playing something like a Kaisa, right, or like anyway that's something that has a lot of spells, then deflect is pretty decent. So yeah, just an okay card. Next is a free drop for free. When I move to battlefield, it's called Ribbon Dancer. Give another friendly unit +1 might this turn. Now, if you watch the other videos that I did, I'm not a fan of free drops in this game overall, and I think this is one of those that I will just never play. At least I think so, because one, it only triggers when you move to the battlefield. It would be much more playable if it would also trigger when you move to the base, right? So when you go back after like conquering something, you get to buff another unit. That's great. If it could be buffing himself, probably would be too good. It's essentially like a mobile assault of a different kind. But in this form, I just don't like it. It's just a 1 star. For 3 resources and 1 power, we have Royal Entourage with 4 might. So it's better than the cost in theory, right? Because for 3 mana and the recycle, you get a better stats than you should. And when you play me, ready or exhaust a legend. Now I'm giving this 4 stars. It's probably a little bit too much than it should be, but I feel like this might be changing like in the future as well, because this can affect both your legend and your opponent legend. So depending on what is happening in the game when it comes to new expansions and so on, this guy might be actually they might be much better than this text kind of signals right now, because you will have a lot of options. Like I know it's green, but as an example, if you play on and suddenly you can play gears twice per turn, this 1 power cost in this unit doesn't really sound that bad, because you get an overstated unit for its cost, right? And you compensate with the untap, so you play another gear that will not pay the power, so you just kind of transfer the cost, but you get more stats. So I think this is pretty playable, and it might be even more playable if at some point it will affect your opponent's legend and yours. So you'll have the chance of doing two things with the card at once, right? I mean, sorry, not at once because you have to choose, but you will have flexibility of affecting either yourself or your opponent. So I think, yeah, this is, I just think this is a very decent card. Next one is a 2-drop with 2 might, Apprentice Smith. When I move, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a gear, draw it. Otherwise, recycle it. So this always triggers when you move, doesn't matter where to. So in purple decks, you might move more than once with this, but at the same time, you have to count like how many gears will I play in a deck? Even if it's like a gear heavy deck, like maybe something like an Ornn, right? You have to count like how often will I draw here? Will this be better than the other two options that are drawing a card, right? Like the Lonely Poro, for example, that we already discussed here, or the Clockwork, whatever was the name, the other 2-drop that draws your card for 1 power. Now, if you play it in Ornn, how often do I move with this? Do I ever trigger it more than once? Probably not. So yeah, I feel like this is like a niche card. It's like an okay-ish card. Maybe you play all 3, for example, if you play an Ornn and you need 2 drops. I don't know. It's not terrible. It's just okay. Legion Quartermaster is a 3-drop with 4 might. As an additional cost to play me, return a friendly gear to its owner hand. Well, okay, you can maybe bounce back a gold, but then it gets destroyed. So it's like, I don't think you can use the gold as a cost and then pop it in a reaction, because if I'm not mistaken, costs are not going on the stack, so you have to just bounce it and destroy it with no effect. And I don't like this card. Like, you would I don't think the tempo loss of bouncing a gear that you already have on board is worth this, unless that gear would be for 0. So for example, seals, right? If you play a seal and for Ornn, for example, right, then you play this guy, then maybe this makes some sense, right? Because you just can bounce it and just replay it next turn with that seal. So maybe that's an option, but would you want to play a 3-drop just for this one purpose? Maybe it makes sense if you're gonna play like 6 seals in an Ornn deck, but I think the Ornn will not play any seals, or maybe just 1. So it's like, by 1 I mean like literally 1, not like 3 copies. I don't think Ornn will just play seals for the same reason that Kai'Sa is not playing any seals. So yeah, I don't think this is a good card. I will just give it one star for now. I'm probably gonna be wrong at some point, but for now I'm giving it 1 star. Now, this one I think is gonna be surprising. It's a 5 cost with 5 might and 1 power. Simian Ancestor. When you buff me, ready me. Now, I think this might be pretty good. Like, there's so many ways of buffing it, and if you play Lee Sin, I know Lee Sin, right? It has to be Lee Sin because it has to be green-orange, but if you play Lee Sin and if, for example, have an Arena Bar, which is the gear for 3 that gives you a buff to a unit that is tapped, you can play this literally on turn 2 if you go second. Like, on first turn you play Arena Bar, on second turn you play this guy, you bounce your green mana, and then you buff him with Arena Bar, and he just instantly gets up, and it's a 6 might unit that attacks on turn 2. Like, that is actually pretty fucking nuts. So unfortunately, you have to play with orange for this combination, but there might be more combinations in the future that will be allowing you to buff it for 0. Maybe that, I mean, there's probably some other ones that I'm currently just not thinking about, but in general, I feel like this card is very strong. So even if you like played on 6 resources, there's definitely ways of buffing it for 1. Like, for example, the Lee Sin just buffs it from the legend ability. So for 6 resources and 1 power, you get a 6 might unit that enters ready. That's decent enough. So I would say, yeah, this is a pretty good unit. 4-drop with 3 might, Stellacorn Herder. When I move, draw 1. I was very, let's say, cold on this card when I first read it, but then after some talks with other players, I realized, yeah, you guys are right. This doesn't have a limit. You can just use it as many times as you want to in 1 turn. So you can just do this probably with purple and just move this unit a few times, and suddenly you're drawing multiple cards. So this is just a good card in most niche scenarios, but it's just good. On paper, I think it might be a draw engine that some of the decks might need. But will it be found in any meta decks right now? Probably not. But we'll see in the future as well. I think this is good though. Now, another 5-star, a 4-drop with 1 power and 4 might. Aphelios Exalted. When you attach an equipment to me, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So you can trigger this multiple times, right? you can ready 2 runes, you can channel 1 rune exhausted, and you can buff a friendly unit. Now, typically, you will not have a lot of gear in a lot of decks, but for example, if you play Jax or Ornn, this unit just suddenly becomes probably incredibly oppressive. Like, not only in Ornn you're gonna be able to pay less for the gear, but you're gonna be able to also channel more runes with this guy, so you can fuel other equipments. In Jax, of course, you can just swap it like a weapon master and stuff like that, and then because of the modality of this card, you're able to get more skill expression, which is fantastic for any card. So I think when it works, this is phenomenal. When it doesn't work, well, then the card is unplayable, but I'm giving it 5 stars anyway, because this is gonna be incredibly good card if the gear decks are actually gonna be good. Next one is gonna be Azir Ascendant, 6 cost for 1 power, 6 might, so it's kind of okay. Then for 1 power and an action speed, choose a unit you control, move me to its location and it to my original location, so they swap between each other. If it's equipped, the unit that you swapped with, you may attach one of its equipment to you, to Azir. Use it only once per turn. This would be broken if there would be no limit, okay? But even with just 1 time per turn, I think this is pretty good. The problem is it's pretty expensive. It can be a champion unit, so if you're building a deck, like, you can literally just play around this. But swapping the gear between the units without paying the cost might be actually very good. So this might be also you have to think about it this way. This unit just enters ready for 2 power cost, right? If you had a different unit anywhere on the battlefield, but also think about it this way, you can have it in your base, you attack with a unit towards the battlefield, and you can swap the places during the combat. That is an incredibly powerful and confusing tool that many people will have to learn how to play against when they're actually going to be playing for the first time against different Azir decks if they use this champion unit. So I think this is pretty cool. It's like high skill expression. It is a limited when it comes to requirements, but it's also kind of on rate. So I think this is pretty decent. And I'm just gonna, by decent, I mean this is 5 stars for me. I'm telling you guys, green is packed to the gills with really good cards. And the next one is a free drop with 1 power, 3 might. Janna, Savior. Reaction. It's a unit with reaction. That already makes it good. When you play me, heal your units here. Then move an enemy unit from here to its base. I'll be honest with you, I probably should give this 6 stars. Probably should have. But I gave it 5 because that was my initial reaction and impression. And it's gonna be like in between maybe. This card is incredible. Like, you will be able to do so many things with this. You counter potentially like a lot of projectiles, and you play around multiple like unit combats. Whenever your opponent will be attacking you with 3 open, it's like, bro, you have to think about so many aspects. Yeah, this should have had 6 stars. I'll be honest with you. You know what? I'm gonna edit. It's gonna be having 6 stars. All right, so now it's edited. It has 6 stars, and I think maybe I don't know, better defining. Boy, oh boy, I might be wrong about this one, but this, like, my gut feeling tells me this is so good. It's incredibly good. And whenever you play like Yasuo decks or Irelia, like whichever you have with purple, it's gonna be so annoying to play against. So yeah, big fan of Janna. Alright, next one is gonna be Jax, a 5 drop with 1 power cost, 5 might. Deflect built in, so pretty decent already. Each equipment in your hand has quick draw. It gains reaction when you play it. Attach it to a unit you control. So awesome, just fucking awesome. You're gonna change any single one of your equipments to be a reaction spell, and also because they have quick draw, you don't have to pay the equip cost of it. So suddenly majority of the equipment becomes just incredibly good. And remember that even though there might be under the typical rate of the stats that you get for your cost, they stay on the board if after the unit gets destroyed, so you can attach to a different unit. And with Jax, you probably play Jax, so you can also attach for, like, it's incredible. I think this is very, very, very oppressive if used correctly. It's gonna be having a lot of, let's say, skill ceiling when it comes to how to utilize that. It might also make this unit not really a 5 drop, because maybe you're not gonna use it the same turn you drop it, right? You want to have that quick draw, like being more like a surprise factor as well. But in general, I think this is a very good card. And now we have Needlessly Large Yodel, a 10 drop with 5 might and 3 power cost. Of course, gets +5 on the shield when it's defending and has a tank, and then it costs 2 mana and 1 power less for each point you scored from holding this turn. So in case you're already winning and you're holding 2 locations, this guy is for 6 mana and 1 power cost. Like, I'm just giving it 1 star. This is just like a win more card that it's just not good. That's it. Just bye-bye. Now we have Irelia, a 5 cost with 4 might. So it's undervalue, right? But it has built-in deflect. There's so many deflect units. When you choose already me, give me +1 might this turn. So by default, essentially, the turn after you play it, it's gonna have 5 might anyway. So once you untap it, right? But then whenever you choose it, you will buff it by 1. So whenever you buff it with a card, you essentially get +1. Whenever you equip, use an ability to target it or something, like there's so many possibilities of buffing this card just by not even trying to buff it in the first place. This might be very oppressive. And when you start thinking that Irelia herself, the legend, has the signature spell for 1 resource, gets +2 and -2 on an enemy, suddenly with this unit, for 1 resource, it's essentially +3 -2. I don't think you can get higher value than that. Like, this is very, very, very good. Maybe should have been even a 6 star. Probably should have been, but hey, I think it's just very good unit. So we'll see. That deflect built in is also problematic. So probably gonna regret my choices here, but I'm gonna leave it at 5 stars. It's just an awesome card. Next we have the 5 drop on for 1 power as well and 5 might. When you play me or when I hold, look at the top 4 cards of your main deck. You may reveal a gear from among them and draw it. Then recycle the rest. Now, hot take, I think this card is probably gonna be played more in Jax than in On itself. And when it comes to the own unit, you're not even, like, you're never going to be choosing this as a champion unit. So the auto on is going to be played. While in Jax, you might actually just kind of dig for some specific gear that you want to play in that moment. So I feel like this, like, because it's more tempo based, right? So I feel like this might be actually more playable in Jax. It's an okay-ish card. That's about it. Like, not super excited about it. And now we have an epic that I definitely don't want to open in any of my booster boxes, if I will get any. 7 drop. 2 power, 4 might, has a deflect built in. While I'm at the battlefield, opponents can't score points. Yeah, great. So that, like, is that the answer to Renata Glass? If she ever becomes, like, playable or something? I don't know. Like, if I drop a 7 drop and pay 2 power for it, and then it gets shot by a Void Seeker, even if the opponent will pay 2 resources for it when it comes to recycling it, I'm still crying. So yeah, this is really not good. Like, there's no way this is good. Yeah, I'm keeping it at 1 star. This is horrible. The only scenario in this would be like any decent. This would be when you play against a deck that doesn't have like a spot removal, and then you have a battle which kind of looks like sealed decks battle, when one of the locations is Victor, the other one is Lee Sin, and the Lee Sin stacks one side, the Victor is stacking the other side, and you essentially only win by holding. So yeah, I feel like that's the only scenario where Tiana could be like considered, oh, that's a good moment, but that is like not even, I won't even call this niche. So yeah, I'm still gonna keep it at 1 star. Now we're starting spells. For 2 mana, you get Desert's Call. Play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token, but the spell has repeat. So for 4 mana, you get 2 Sand Soldiers with 2 might each. I'm giving this 4 stars because, one, for Azir, this is a no-brainer. You definitely want to play this. For any other green deck, I feel like this is a viable choice because there are so many like good 2-drops in the green, but this one has the flexibility of essentially being also a 4-drop, which makes it more valuable for the majority of the game. So I feel like this is pretty decent card, and it's nice that we have more and more cards that have like modality in it. The same pattern will have Feral Strength. It's a spell for 2 resources, reaction, repeat 2. Give a unit +2 this turn. And you can target essentially the same unit or 2 separate units. So there's a little bit more skill expression over here. But I don't give it 4 stars because I feel like in green you already have so many decent buffs. and I gave the 4 stars to the token spell because it does give you board control. So I probably in Azir, you're gonna see some copies of Pharaoh's Strength, probably not 3, but maybe like 1 or 2. But I don't think that in many other decks that are non-Azir, we're gonna see this instead of like Discipline, for example. So yeah, and again, the same pattern. We have Twunk for 2 resources, repeat 2, action speed, stun, and attacking unit. Now, it is limited. It's only for attacking units, and you know, Leona probably would want to play this at some point. But again, how many copies of stun cards would you have it when they are limited to only affecting attacking units? I'm giving it 3 stars, although maybe it should have 2 stars. If this would not be repeat, but it would be like 4 mana, stun 2 attacking units, then it would be definitely a 2 star or maybe even 1 star. But because it's a cheaper card on the baseline, I'm giving it 3 stars because maybe it will be used because of the modality and different type of cost and the skill expressions that you can have with this card. But I'm not an Leona expert, so we'll see. Now we have Emperor's Divide, a 2 resource cost hidden card with action, but obviously when it's hidden it becomes reaction. Move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to the base. So it's very similar to Flash, and we know that Flash is very playable, although Flash is only from your hand and it's a reaction, right? This one only becomes a reaction when it's hidden. So I'm giving it 3 stars because I think it's a good card, but the problem is I don't think you can play this in green decks that do not have more hidden cards. And in many of the decks that are like currently... It's gonna be hard for me to tell exactly how many hidden cards you would like to play, like for example in an Azir deck, like maybe only this. And when this is only hidden card and you put it on the battlefield, then you're not bluffing anything else, right? But you can also play Hidden Blades alongside it. So maybe then if you play Hidden Blades in Azir, now the question is, will you? I'm not certain. Maybe you will. Maybe you should even, because you can destroy your own tokens as well. So it really depends. But I feel like, again, you have to think about how many slots will you have in an Azir deck, which also kind of has to play some gears for those Sand Soldiers to utilize. So it might be a little bit getting tight on the slots in the deck, and I feel like Emperor's Divide might not be a priority in that type of deck. And in other green decks, for example, that play more mid-rangey and have like Zonias and so on, maybe suddenly Emperor's Divide are a good option as an additional hidden card, where it will be very weird to play against both of those at the same time. So I give it 3 stars. It is an interesting card for sure. Yeah. Next one is counter spell called Not So Fast. For 2 resources, 1 power, reaction, counter enemy spell or ability that chooses a friendly unit or a gear. Now this is very interesting. I give it 5 stars because I think it's very good. But for example, the interaction with Falling Star is gonna be peculiar because Falling Star doesn't target as a spell. It creates triggers that then target like units. So you can only target one of, as a counter spell target, you can only choose one of the 3 damage choices from the Falling Star. You cannot choose Falling Star yourself. So yeah, that's pretty weird interaction because of the reflexive triggers. But at the same time, this card also has the possibility of countering, for example, a ability from a unit that targets your gear or your unit yourself, right? Or maybe ability from a gear coming in specifically to target your unit or your gear. So you have a lot of possibilities within this card. In other games, for example, you would not even have the ability to counter those abilities used by a specific card. So I like this one. I think it's a very good one, and 5 stars, deserves 5 stars in my opinion. 1 resource Doran's Shield is an equipment that will cost you 1 power to equip. It gives a keyword tank and +1 might. Now typically this doesn't sound exciting, but 1 cost equipment is important for Azir to trigger the ability to spawn Sand Warriors, right? And then also because it's such a cheap equipment, it's easy to slot in many rounds, even for different decks that don't rely on like playing equipment like Azir. So you're able to squeeze that in a lot of rounds and then cheaply change the math on many of the combats, because the tank keyword is actually very important in many of the combos that you will have on the board. And think about the fact that so many cards in this particular meta, if Jax will be playable or if Acid is going to be playable, they have Weapon Masters. When they have Weapon Masters, they're going to be capable of equipping this Doran's Shield for free, which doesn't ruin your tempo, but then it breaks the math very early on and allows you to scale and essentially snowball out of control. So I think Doran's Shield is sneaky good. I'm not giving it more than 3 stars, but I think it's just a decent card. Next one is Brutalizer for 2 resources, 1 green to equip. If this was attached to me this turn, I have an additional +2 might. It gives +1 might within its base. So it gives the same stats as Doran when it comes to the might, but if it was attached this turn, it gives you additional +2. In theory, that's pretty good. In practice, I think it's going to only mean that it matters only when you attack into a battlefield, and that's going to be hard to utilize properly, I think. So it's going to be just awkward or clunky to use. So I'm giving it 2 stars. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'll be happy to be proven wrong. I think this might be pretty okay in Jax, but I probably also would assume that we're not gonna have enough slots to play the Brutalizer in Jax. Now we have Power Snacks. For 1 resource, 1 power, draws you a card when you play it. Then for the same cost, and tap it and destroy this, you get to draw an additional card. Now, I think this is gonna be niche. I'm giving it 2-star rating. If you play green, you have creatures who can draw your cards, so I don't think this is a necessary priority in deck building. This might matter when a green deck becomes some kind of dig combo deck that you want to get to specific cards, and then the ability to get a lot of value when it comes to the drawing will matter. But yeah, for now, it's just a niche card for me. Next, we have a Guardian Angel. 2 resources, equip for green, +1 might. If I would die, kill Guardian Angel instead. Heal me, exhaust me, and recall me. So kind of like a different Zonia in form of a gear equipment. I'm giving this 3 stars. It's good, it's decent. Is it better than Zonia? It really depends on the context. Zonia can be a hidden card. This cannot. And how often this will matter that it's a gear, you can play it on turn 1 and just leave it on the board. So that's a nice thing because you don't pay the power cost until you need it. It also changed the math a little bit because of the +1 might, so it's not bad. I think it's playable. That's how I would say it. It's just a playable equipment, so I'm giving it 3 stars. Maybe I'm proving wrong and it's actually meta defining. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, for now, I'm just not super impressed, but I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Next, we have Heart of Dark Ice, a 3-cost equipment with 1 power. For tapping it, you give a unit +3 might this turn. Now, this on paper sounds fucking awesome, but then you realize it's a slow speed, so you cannot use this during the opponent's turn, and you cannot use it during combat, and so on. So essentially, this benefits you on your turn only when you attack, most likely, into a location or before you even attack. So it's easier to play around. It's on the board though, so it can be used for any unit that you have on any location. But the problem is that because it's so limited in its utilization, I would say it's gonna be a niche card. The same, for example, in blue color, we have that mask that allows you to give -1 power to the opponent's units. But again, it cannot be used to weaken the units during the opponent's turn, so it doesn't see any play. And I feel like even though this gives so much more might, it also will not find a place in the metagame when there are so many other gears with equipment that can be used in any kind of moment. And now we have a 6-star, woohoo, meta-defining card in my opinion, Steraks Gage, I don't know, 3 resources, 2 power. Quick draw, so it can be played as a reaction, and when you play it, you can insta-attach it to a unit you control. So then the equip cost essentially doesn't matter the first time you play it, and it would cost 1 green though. It gives you just +3 might. So when you think about it, for example, in an Ornn deck, this is just 3 resources, 1 green power, gives +3 might. That is phenomenal, right? Because it also stays on the board. So once that unit dies who has this gauntlet, you can be reusing this for 1 green for any other unit. It is incredibly fucking good. If you get value out of this twice, it's so like oppressive that it's gonna be really meta defining in my opinion, specifically for the Ornn decks and probably in the Jax decks as well. So look forward to this card being actually pretty pricey when you open the boxes. And the last card in the green color, this is gonna be Svelsongur. 3 resources and 1 power, and it turns out to be, I think it's a flute that is also a mace. I think so. So it gives equip is actually pretty spicy because it costs 1 resource and 1 power and doesn't give any might, and the effect on it is, as this is attached to a unit, this equipment, not the unit, because typically equipment gives abilities to the units. This one doesn't. This one has a ability itself. As this is attached to a unit, copy that unit's text to this equipment effect text for as long as this is attached to it. So you're gonna have some abilities copied. If you play green-blue, you can have Heimadonga, who copies something else, and then this Svelsongur copies the text from the Heimadonga to this Svelsongur. So you just like copy of a copy. It is just essentially like a Excel sheets file that is being copied all the time, and it says copy, 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 copy in the title. So this is some kind of combo kind of tool that I don't see happening to be used for the next sets. So I'm giving it 2-star with potential to be 6-star at some point. But it's if it ever becomes a point when this is gonna be a 6-star, most likely that's gonna be a problem for the metagame and it will get banned. So that's my hot take for this card. For now, it's just a niche fun meme card, and hopefully I'm not proven wrong, because that would be probably not good for the game. Anyway, and now the summary of all of the green colors. We have 2 meta-defining cards, 6 awesome cards, 4 good cards, 9 okay-ish cards. All of those are playable tools from the new expansion. That's a lot. That is essentially 21 cards. And then 9 other cards, 4 of them are niche, so still playable to some degree, and 5 of them are trash. This is like, if you're a green color fan, you're gonna be so happy with Spiritforged, because not only you get so many tools to build around, or like just, you know, decent cards, but you also get very valuable standalone cards that can be slotted into any green color deck. So you're gonna be very happy about the cards that you get in Spiritforged. Now, if you enjoyed this entire video and you watched it till the end, say in the reply, "Woo! That was a long video." And by woof, I mean PHEW. All right, see ya, bye-bye.